Elliot, are you there?
I'm here, brother. What's up, man?
How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Look at John's here. Look at this. This is like the party just kept going.
Yep.
Oh, we're still drawing, guys.
Right on.
I'm kidding.
Well, I figured this would be a cool down session for some of us,
Yeah,
and I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen.
because it's losers' night.
So for let's see, Critias is here. About time are they looking? You took long enough. I took long enough, Critias. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, man. I'm trying to be like everybody else. So I messed up my Captain America drawing. What is this? What is this? Okay. I am gonna start another thing here. I like doing these. I call them epic doodles because I don't really know what I'm gonna draw, but you know, it's kind of fun to see. You don't understand. You could have had a class. You could have been a contender. You could have been somebody instead of a bum, which is what I am. Let's face it, Elliot. If you used a pencil, you could have won. I don't know about that. I was doing all kinds of editing. The capture. Yeah, everybody did a great job. Thank you, 3D Robin. I appreciate it. I don't have like a super chat thing, so I'm just going to look up and read from time to time because I can read, and maybe we'll get Nasser back in here to moderate. I don't know.
What's your channel? Oh, is it just Elliot Fernandez?
Here on YouTube?
Yeah, I found it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I can pull up your chat.
Oh, you don't have to. You don't have to. I mean, well, you could draw if you'd like, or you can just.
Oh, I'll probably draw. I just want to know if anyone's talking shit.
Someone's always talking shit.
Oh, that's funny. It was fun, man. It was a good time over there doing all this stuff. It was a goody goody. It was like the stuff you get at the Kobe Steakhouse, the little goody goody sauce. It was good. That's a Tampa joke. Everybody knows that here. It's the yellow sauce at those steakhouses. You ever eat at those like Japanese steakhouses where they give you that one ginger sauce and they give you a different one? I don't even know if it's ginger. Nolan's here. What's up, Nolan?
No, I like to go to Chili's and get steak fajitas every time.
Ooh, I miss those too.
Yeah. At least the Chili's around here, it gives you like a really good portion of meat. You know, I go to other places and you run out of meat before you run out of shells, and Chili's, I always have to ask for more shells.
I used to enjoy that so much.
What do you mean used to? Are you vegan?
I kind of am, but because I kind of had to, my cardiologist told me I had to chill out.
Oh.
So
don't listen to him. What does he know?
Well, he just saved my life. Yeah. But I do miss it, man. I miss that. I miss ice cream. I miss pizza. I miss cheeseburgers. I love it. I love it. Love it. So what's the theme? Let's give ourselves a theme if we want to draw. I don't know. You don't have to do that, I guess. I'm going to give myself. I like drawing horror. I like drawing monsters. So I'm going to draw little scary dudes.
Yeah, I'm firing up my manga studio here. So.
Yeah, I'm about to dive in onto some. I need to start working on some of these Asgard pages for the end of the book.
No, I can't stop drawing the digital stuff now. I need to work on I have a sketch cover to work on. Another commission to wrap up. Are you guys going to be going to New York Comic Con at all?
I wish.
No plans. Why is that coming up?
Yeah, that's coming up. This next show I have is going to be, this MegaCon Tampa next week. I think Ben Hennessy is going to be down there or down here for that, and I heard some other people are going to be here, and then there's a break, and then we'll be going to New York, and we were just going over because my business partner is my art rep too. We're trying to figure out what's the best way to lay out some of the product. That's what I'm doing a lot of now too. I'm doing a lot of creating different types of, trying to produce IP through merchandise too. Is something I'm fascinated with, just because I've spent so much time in that world of retail and stuff, and so I have ideas about that as well. I'm experimenting with.
Oh, so you were saying in Mike's stream that you doing much like comic stuff. Is that anything that you're gonna ever try to get back into, like through the Comicsgate community, or are you gonna just keep doing your own thing with like art books and?
No, the art book was really an attempt to to try to really well, first of all, I didn't know what was going to happen with I had heard about the way that crowdfunding was working for some people, and we thought, let's try that. And I have a nice following on Instagram, and I figured I was hoping that crowd would come out to play.
What's a nice following?
I have over 100,000 followers over there.
Jeez.
But it doesn't. That's because it's. I think it's interesting because a lot of the conversations I hear you guys. I don't have the kinds of challenges that you guys have with what's going on. The culture war, primarily because I've never really engaged. I didn't really engage it on that side of the fence. I think it's prevalent in your, because you guys were working for those companies and had those challenges that way. But for me, it was I pretty much just kept everything as professional and just cranking out business stuff. That's just not professional, just more business oriented. And now I'm starting to see, oh, okay, this is what's going on. So, but now that I've kind of come around to what you guys are trying to do, I'm starting to realize more and more that, oh yeah, this is a whole other way. And now I'm revisiting a bunch of old ideas. I just shared something with Doug the other day because I have a character that I've been fooling around with for a while, but it's another Bigfoot character. Like, man, is there room?
That's okay. That's okay. There's room for it.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm playing around with that. I have a bunch of stuff, man. I've been here's my thing was, as I was getting older, in the other industry I was working in, I'd already been a creative director and working that way, and it was my Bob Rossness is coming out. I start to kind of fade out with my voice. 3D Robin says, make a freaking comic, Elliot. I'm working on it, man. I'm working on it, Robin. Yeah, I started to I've had all these ideas. I've been wanting to do stuff, and I when I left my day job to do this, that's what I left for, to do comics. I have been getting work. I have been talking to editors. I was getting hints that I should get, you need to come out here, man. You need to dedicate more time to it. But then I got chirps when I left. I'm not dumb. I knew that was a possibility, but I was hoping against, the odds that it would work. So, yeah, I figured that eventually I want to do my own thing, but if I couldn't afford to do it this way, how was I going to get there? So I just kind of abandoned some of those ideas for now, thinking that maybe I'll get back to it when I can. And so I've been just kind of on track with the freelance work and getting design work here and there and logo stuff and that sort of thing.
So I'm never on whatever Instagram. So is like 100,000? Is that a common thing on Instagram or
No?
No, I wouldn't.
Are you on there, Ben?
Yeah.
What do you have on there?
Shit, I don't even know, because I don't really pay that close attention to it. Let me check it real quick. I have 591 followers, but I just started using it in June for the most part.
How long have you been on there, Elliot?
4 or 5 years now, I think.
Oh wow.
4 or 5 years. So so yeah, the problem is in any of the social media situations, a lot of which I would say that's not, well, I'm not going to say that's not true anymore, because I'm seeing now that it's about the right crowd, hitting the right crowd with the right product. And I think one of the things I've learned about social media is every platform has its personality. Every platform has its ethos and its reason for existing. And Twitter is where you guys comment and critique ideas, where Instagram is more about sharing art. So a lot of the personalities I hear you guys talk about sometimes, I'm like, oh man, that guy follows me. But it's because in Instagram world, it's all about the visuals. So nobody gets into discussions because it's not, unless you're going to be overtly, confrontational about a particular idea or another. And then some people don't have a lot to say, so they'll post memes or things like that from time to time. But if you spend any time there, you'll learn that from the art side of things, it's mainly just cool imagery, and we all like each other's stuff. Then I go over to Twitter, and I've got nothing to say. So I'm like, well, I don't even use it. So I actually started using it again recently because of Antonio. He was like, you should get back on there. I said, well, okay, but I don't know what I'm going to talk about, So I also kind of dropped Facebook for a while because I don't know. I feel like Facebook has become institutional. It's like having an email address. You have to have a Facebook. You have an email.
Facebook feels like a wasteland to me now. It used to be really good. At least for me, I used to make a good amount of money off of Facebook just by people being able to find me for commissions and whatnot.
Yeah.
Now it's just weird. It doesn't feel right. Not for commerce or to make money off of. If it feels like what I guess they really wanted to do was so you could talk to your friends and look at the pictures and stuff. So
yeah, I was just gonna say that I think it's evolved into what it was intended to be, just a social network, just a place to talk about anything. Most of the comments, the conversation that's angry or political or anything seems to be happening on Twitter more.
Yes.
You get Facebook sometimes feels like it's a news outlet at times too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what, man. One of the things you can do, I think one of the ways to kind of trip the circuit there is to do more videos, and that's why I noticed I get a lot of views. I said this the other day. I think Instagram is trying to compete with YouTube more and more with the IGTV. So they're plugging the videos more than they used to. So if I do a 1 minute video, the regular post.
Yeah.
I noticed that I'll get a bunch of views, and I'll get a bunch of views from what they call the discovery, or where the little magnifying glass is, where you can check out new stuff or whatever. And so that's a way to do it, but there's not really a solid way anymore because it's all by algorithms now.
Yep.
Like Facebook. So they want you to start advertising. So I just converted because there are some cool marketing tools there for if you have a business profile. And so I've converted my profile into a business profile, but I've also created other ones to work in or bring some awareness to my other brands. Like I do this cartooning guys I was working on the other night, I call them mini mongers. Those are like my segue into that crowd of people. Cause that's where I decided. I was like, if I can't do comic work and I'm not getting as much business as I used to at the conventions and through social media, then I'm going to go back to my roots as a product designer and start thinking about who these customers are. And that's what got me thinking about the conversation I was listening to from you guys, because I started to hear you guys discuss customers, and that's my ears perked after that. I was like, yeah, that's what it's all about. That's why I think there's such a challenge in front of Marvel. Beyond the political problems, is really is what you guys have said is really the heart of the movement, is really about just customer focus, and they've lost their customer focus.
Yeah, to a large degree.
Yeah,
to an insane degree, because any other business, and I speak mainly of mainstream comics, but any other business, if they had an employee that was out there doing what Robbie Rodriguez did, he'd be gone. It wouldn't even be a thing. And there'd be an apology going out about it. I mean, it wouldn't be this sweep it all under the rug type attitude, because you wouldn't want any of your other artists or potential artists that come along to ever think that doing that was okay. You'd want to make a statement, and be like, yeah, don't do what he did because X, Y, and Z is what happened to his career, But if you don't put out that kind of messaging as a corporation, then what's being signaled out is that, oh, okay, well, maybe you can get away with it. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm not concerned about it anymore though, because now because I see myself as a product designer, I was thinking about the conversation we were having yesterday, and I was thinking about the Edwin's comments. I heard him talking to Tug in the morning yesterday, and I was thinking, I hear you guys. I there's definitely a reason for the frustration, because I'm coming from a place. I'm not a pacifist by any stretch, but I'm also thinking I'm focusing more on the, especially after having medical things. I'm like, I got to worry about the most important things right now. However, you know, this is a larger problem, and I think I've mentioned it before. Because I think there is some, I don't know if it's sinister, but I think it's maybe, but not from everyone's. I think some people are just ignorant of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but
Purposefully sometimes.
but I see this now as like, well, they're kind of my competition now. I don't know that I need to worry about that now. If I'm going to be producing my own book, it's like when it's like whenever I've had art reps before that I hang out with other artists, and they're like, hey, and then they're not hanging out with me, helping me take care of my business. I feel like, you're kind of going to the other camp, if you will. So I see it now as a business thing. Like, what's more important, that we promote and we get frustrated about them, or do we put more energy into producing our stuff and getting that stuff funded and produced? But I realize also that it's not as simple as just getting it funded. There's the rest of it, right, John? Like, what's your experience so far with your stuff? How positive is the experience? So what are some of the things to look out for when it comes to like fulfillment and all that other stuff? What do you?
Oh, well, I'm in the same boat as everyone else. I mean, Richard with Jawbreakers, that's his department. So I haven't really been paying much attention to how all that pans out. When I get to Graveyard Shift fulfillment, then I can let you know. But right now, I don't have enough information. So the only pitfall I'd say to look out for is shipping costs.
Yeah.
And with a little luck, any extra that is brought in from the domestic charge will probably end up getting pushed into the international charges.
Yeah.
So and hopefully, I mean, there's good and bad in that, because you want all your domestics to only pay for right up to the cent that they need, but I don't think that will ever be possible to really zero it in that much. But then the good part is, look, now people can get it from overseas, and the domestic is giving them a rate that's a little bit more affordable.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
yeah, when I see how it all pans out, because Ben's got, like, I guess, nightmare stories on international.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
What do you think? Ben? What do you think, like, the average cost is for shipping? Oh yeah, but you also did like oversized packages, though, right?
yeah. It's really going to determine on the weight and the size of the package. Because I was shipping 11 by 17 prints, which is a no for anyone that's doing crowdfunding.
Mm.
You want to keep your package as small as possible. I think my packages ended up being like 2 pounds, give or take. And you think, oh, 2 pounds isn't that bad. And I think for most of the overseas shipping, Japan was a little bit higher. Australia was a little bit higher. Anywhere between 15 to $20 a pop. Some were like 36. I think one to Slovakia was 36.
Ooh.
So you really have to watch out for that. And if it's a one-off, I expected $15, but it's 36, and you walk away. When it's 50 of them or 60 of them like that,
Yeah.
if you added just 10 more bucks, you're now looking at, $600 more. Or in my case, at one point, it became, I want to say I paid almost $2,000 more than what I had budgeted in shipping.
Mm. So it sounds like there's already an opportunity to start thinking a little differently and maybe plan for the worst case scenario in that regard. At least it's almost like taxes.
Yes.
Think you're going to pay this much at 10 more percent just in case, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Like I think on my Kickstarter for Asgard Zero, I charged $5 for shipping. It was like, oh, shipping's not going to be that much. because I assumed, and you know what assuming does.
Mm.
And even domestic, because the package was so heavy, some of the zones, actually a good chunk of the zones, were instead of $5, I was paying 13, $14 a pop.
Ooh, like what zones would those be?
Well, I don't remember. I know Hawaii.
Mm.
Um, there was a couple of places in the East Coast somewhere. I want to say upwards toward Maine type area, and like I want to say the North Dakotas, that type of areas. It was more expensive to ship there because you're seeing $8, $8, $8 on these packages, and then you see $15. Like, whoa, what's wrong with that one? It's all American. Yeah, that zone is more expensive.
Yeah,
Mm.
but those are kind of outliers, right? I mean, those aren't the norm.
No, they're not. Well, it depends on, if you get a bunch of like like I feared with this one because I have a Samoan character, maybe the Hawaiian culture would want to book more. So you would have more Hawaiian shipments there. So now if you're going to be shipping, let's say if it's just 20 shipments to Hawaii, that's going to add up. Even if it's $10 more, that's another $200 that just came out of your coffers. So you have to
Hmm.
be very careful, especially like you guys that have like thousands of backers. Um, Even $1 more for you guys is $1,000 more.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. What did Ethan say? He had he mentioned a crazy number for his fulfillment. Like,
Yeah, I think it's like 9,000 somewhere around there.
oof. Mm. So yeah, so that's definitely. Hey, I want to thank John Piner. John Piner is going crazy, advertising all of our stuff on the chat here.
Yeah, that dude's a machine.
You're great, John. Thank you very much for that.
Oh, you should
Curious, what's going on?
make him a mod, and then he can share links.
Oh, that's a great idea. How do I do
Mhm.
that? So,
Uh, Hover over his name, and the three dots in the chat will pop up, and then you click on the three dots, and then it says something about moderator.
there you go, John.
Mhm.
You're now a moderator. Boom. All right. Very cool. Does he get a wrench now?
Yeah, you should. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Oh,
look, I lost a backer. Yay.
you lost a backer?
Yeah, I was like, hey, that number's lower. What the hell? Oh,
They might be upgrading.
yeah, maybe.
Hmm.
I also want to. Yeah, I lost the backer too. Um, I also want to thank you guys for hanging out with me here. I don't have a lot of people to share all of our love with, but I want to make sure that when I'm done, I'll make sure I put everybody's link into my own description for you
Oh
guys.
yeah, that's fine. And everyone, be sure to hit that like button too.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'll help Elliot get more views.
So the other thing I'm trying to do is build up my Patreon audience, but that's also kind of a challenging effort there. I think the culture is just different. This is one of the things that I was listening to you guys talk. I like when Ethan talks about a tiered strategy where he called it the movie theater experience for this part of the IndieGoGo campaign is the theater experience with
Hmm.
with the high end, high definition, IMAX experience, and then the other parts are still important. But what do you guys think about digital as a direction and where that's going? What are your, I mean, opinions aside, or maybe subjectivity is fine too.
Well, I mean, digital's fine. I mean, most of the comic books I get are digital. Uh, but the consumer base really hasn't made that huge swing and made that paradigm shift to digital. It's still in that flux where some people use it, some people hate it, some people still like the floppies. It's more convenient and you can get it on multiple devices, but in the comic book industry, people are still so used to that tactile feel of having a book in their hands. Uh, and for us as creators, the cost difference isn't that different. I mean, I guess if you're printing 5,000 and up copies of your book, then the price would be different. But I think for my 72 page zero book with shipping and everything included, it cost me $3,000 to do 1,200 copies. So okay, let's kill the 3,000 and then you put it on digital. So people get upset when digital is the same price as the actual book. So let's say you knock it down a little bit. Well, if you the biggest place to put it on digital is Comixology,
Hmm.
and Comixology takes 50% off the top.
Mm.
So how much are you going to be making per sale? I mean, again, if you can guarantee me 5,000 sales, then yeah, it's great. Even if I'm making let's say $2 per issue, then I sold 10,000 copies. Okay, so that's $20,000. Okay, you take your 50% off the top. So I walked away with, you know, $10,000. I mean, that's pretty good in the independent market. I know a lot of image creators at Image ain't making that.
Mm. Mm.
So, but they can't guarantee those kind of numbers because the
Right.
public just isn't the demand for digital isn't that high.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm just not I'm just not all about digital. So like as a whatever a product. So yeah, I mean I bought stuff that's digital, but I mean, as a creator, I'm like, well, I don't want to fast track anybody into pirating my stuff. And I think if you're gonna do digital, and this isn't something I put too much thought in just because I'm more or less anti-digital. I think for what we do specifically is, look, you pay for an actual book, it's signed, by the artist or the writer or both, and that's something special that you're offering people. So
Right.
regardless of the price, and then you factor in that it's a low print run, so it's rare, it has a collectability factor to it. That's a special item, and especially if you're able to upgrade it and give like really good paper stock and cover stock, and do whatever you can to make it a firm product. Digital, I don't know. I almost feel like if I was to do digital for something like Graveyard Shift, that I would maybe consider releasing the Nerd Wonder part or the Ashcan, kind of the add-ons as something to release digital and not necessarily the core book itself. So
That's actually a really good idea. I've been entertaining with the story that I was talking to you guys about earlier about the new concept. I've been thinking about trying to find a way to fold in all these new things, because there's also markets that we don't tap here in the U.S. That are reading some material. So have you heard about webtoons at all?
Yeah, I
no.
have. I have. Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposedly they've got a strong following, and their model is built kind of like the way YouTube works with advertising. So they have an interesting format, and they had a big presence last year at New York Comic Con. They were really pushing it. So I'm doing some investigation of it, and my business partner and I were talking about a way to use that. Could be to do what you're describing, like the way it works, John, is like your comic is laid out not in comic form like a traditional. You're not thinking about page as art, you're thinking about panels as art, and each panel connects vertical as you scroll up, like you would did my screen just switch out? What's wrong with me? Now you guys are watching my keyboard. You're
It's such a lovely keyboard.
Well, thank you. I don't know this is happening all the time with me anymore. But anyway, yeah. So I was thinking, man, that'd be a great way to do like an exclusive digital thing that's smaller and more compact, and then you can take that same idea and make it part of one of your. It could be the some of the extra content in your IndieGoGo campaign. It's another
Wait,
way to do
now
that.
what's a webtoon? I think I missed it. What was a webtoon?
Webtoon is an app online that it's also a website. You can go to Webtoon. I think it's webtoon.com. Webtoon or Webtoons. I don't remember what it was. But and what they do is they have comics that are laid out on a vertical what do you call it, format. So you scroll up through the comic through panels. So so instead of reading it from panel to panel on a page in an assortment of 6 to 12 panels or whatever, you're only seeing one panel at a time as you scroll up, like you would on Instagram, like you're scrolling up and looking at the pictures or a feed.
Oh, you mean that thing I don't use either? Are these free? Because I'm on the site right now.
Yeah, so
is
they're
there a
free.
sample?
They're
Okay,
free.
how do you make money off that then?
So what they have is they have the discovery, and then if depending on how your audience grows, you can develop that into something you can monetize. So it's not that different from a YouTube. You're building your audience on that thing, and you get to a certain point, and you shift into a different format within that company, and then they start getting ad revenue. But they're marketing that stuff to Korea, they're marketing that product to China and all these other countries that are using the digital format. It's interesting. I've been doing some research about it. I've listened to a couple of people give me their experience with it, and so far it's very interesting, and it's not a bad way to kind of dip your toe into that the digital market for that purpose. Then I started thinking, well, then that could easily become something you can add on to your IndieGoGo. You can take some of the stuff you put on, because you still own it, and there's a store supposedly. I think when they travel at some of the conventions, and they'll sell like T-shirts with some of your stuff on it. And I think you get a cut of that as well.
So it looks like you essentially would use the work where we use the work to sell to the direct market. They're using the work as advertisement to sell other products
No,
and advertisement revenue.
no, like just it's not that different from what we're doing right now on YouTube. You build up your audience, your crowd determines the attention you get from advertisers, and then you get a piece of that.
Well, I noticed Cyberforce is on there. Top Cow has a
Mm-hmm.
section on here.
I was
Okay, maybe I'll look at that and see if it's a little bit more.
And some people get real tricky. Sanford Green has a strip called 1000. Is that 1000? Yeah. And he has a team of people he works with in the studio, an animation studio. But some of those guys are coders and stuff, and they were programmers. So they were able to add in, not coders, I mean, but they work in digital media, and they have movement and sound and music, all kinds of stuff. I was like, wow, this is a cool presentation. It's very, very interesting.
Oh, well, these guys, Top Cow is just putting pages, and you just scroll right through them.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. But some of the other ones, and you can see the kinds of views that some of those guys get, and the bigger ones. So they actually are running a contest. Again, I've been doing a lot of research. I'm like, oh, this is interesting, but I don't have anything yet because it doesn't matter. But I'd rather do this first and get this audience excited about the work I'm doing, because this is where I live here. This is my.
I do
my
remember. Let's see. His name was Max Smith, I want to say. And what he did was he created his web comics on Tapas. That's what it was. And he ran it for, I don't know, 6 months, a page a week or a page a day, something like that. He was releasing it. So what he did was he used the web series to build his audience. And then when he went to Kickstarter, the dude got 100 grand for the same pages that were there on the web book.
Yeah. It reminds me of something I heard from was it Scott McCloud? Is that it? On this documentary called Stripped, about the newspaper market, and he was just saying, we have to find ways to not just do the art, but also make it a business. So it's very interesting to consider all these different elements. I'm reading something in the chat. Is it Elika Spain? What's going on, man? The problem with webtoons, it says you have to make a lot of content every week.
Yes.
A lot of content like manga. Plus, they get to own the digital rights. But now everybody uses it like that. In fact, there's a I forget the strip. They only put up like like 3 or 4 panels at a time. So each installment, it doesn't have to be like that. But of course, I guess that means different things. Let's see. Mike Miller's on page 39 or 48. You're running out of time to back cross between Captain America and Van Helsing. Oh, okay. He's talking about his IndieGoGo.
Talking about Lone Star.
So 3D Robin says, I love Mike, but he's killing me with his pixelated stream. That's why I thought he was in Hawaii, guys. Because I'm like, oh, it was because, you have to cross the Pacific to get to the servers. But no.
Yeah, I thought he got a good camera. I'm not sure what kind of graphics card he's using to run it. I don't know. I don't know what the issue would be. Maybe a lack of RAM or processing power. I don't know, but it's PC.
I wonder maybe if all his kids are using his bandwidth at the same time. I wonder if that affects it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that was just a thing to look at, and think about. I don't know. I'm certainly interested in it. I'm learning stuff. I'm trying. That's what I'm involved in now. Is just figuring out how to turn all this stuff into cash, and what are the different ways.
Yeah, for me, it's because I do have a normal day job.
Mm-hmm.
It's how can it at least be self-sustaining? That's all really. I'm not looking for huge profits. I just want self-sustainment.
Yeah.
That way I don't have to dip into my actual funds.
Well, you work at NASA, so you may not be able to make that large of an amount on the reg. So I don't know, unless NASA pays really cheap.
Well, I'm working for a contractor for NASA, so that's different. I'm not a government employee. I work for the government as a contractor. But so I get, I do well. I mean, I don't.
I tell you, Ben, if you keep sticking to doing these IndieGoGos and keep building your audience, I think, without knowing your expenses and what you make, I mean, I would say easily within a year or two, you would be able to take this on full time. Again, without knowing your expenses, but I think a reasonable amount of pay is possible.
Yeah.
So
I could do the full-time artist thing and here's the big crux of it is the healthcare issue. I mean, I have really good healthcare through the company I currently work for, and that means a lot, especially with 3 daughters and the wife and everything else.
Yeah.
And it saddens me every time I see one of these legendary great artists that we fall upon their throne when we see them. And when they get up in age, they're doing a GoFundMe to pay for hospital bills. It's like, oh, that's kind of
yeah. And also on the other hand, I mean, as a supplemental income, I mean, it's going to be fine too. I think you can build an audience, clearly if you're hammering at it, like full time hammering at it.
Yeah.
But there's no guarantee. So as supplemental income, then yeah, I mean, you'll probably do very well with Asgard as is. And again, I mean, as everyone, so even Elliot's building a channel. I have a channel. You have a channel too, right, Ben?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, as all these build, this is the tide raising all ships. So as your next one comes out, there's going to be 100 more eyes willing to consider your project, or 1,000 more eyes, or whatever the increase in the Comicsgate population is. So,
and I think that's really the key, right? Is a solid approach to networking. And I love what you're saying, John, because really that's really the ignition for any successful campaign, is that are you plugged in with the right people, and hopefully what you want to be is plugged in not just with the right people, but also at least you have to have you have to be aligned with, at least philosophically to a degree or another, with that crowd.
Well, I don't think ultimately that's necessary. So I've said this before. that I think Comicsgate is, the beginning of what's to come. And I think there's going to be plenty of people. Comicsgate is this community, and hopefully it inspires everybody by having the practices of good business sense, and being good to your customers, and having relationships with them, to where you feel like them, they feel like they know you. And so that when you are passionate about releasing another project, they're going to support you because they agree with you. They feel that you're someone that they know and they want to support. So eventually what's going to happen is other creators are going to come over here, and it doesn't have to be this pledge to Comicsgate. Right now it definitely helps because we're starting it all by building YouTube channels and using that to to deliver basically
Right.
this is our product, and if you guys want to buy it, then you go over to IndieGoGo. But even Scott Snyder, who up until a day ago had my respect, and but they can come over here and they can build their own channels as well. And again, just keep the good customer service type philosophies in line, and eventually you're going to build your audience. And I said this before, I say this many times. You can build your own audience of 50 to 60,000 subscribers on YouTube. There's really two ways of doing it. You can do it in an abrasive way. Well, this is what Ethan and Richard do, and this is going to get you fast followers. This is going to get people, boom, you're going to just explode. Maybe you'll be able to get 50, 60,000 in a year, maybe a year and a half, Yeah. So, also you have to have a little bit of charisma as well. So, Ethan and Richard both have charisma. If they didn't, they wouldn't have built their channels as quickly as possible. So that's how you know if somebody is a good salesperson, because they would not have a large subscriber base if not. So anyways, then there's the non-abrasive way. And the non-abrasive way is definitely better for the younger people because they had the time. But that may take 5 years. 5 years of consistent videos and building up your channel. But look, once you get that 50, 60,000, regardless of how you got there, I believe you will get 5% of them to buy at the prices that Comicsgate sells at. Generally the minimum $25 tier. So if you can get 5% of 50, 60,000, 60 specifically, because that's what Richard had and that's what Ethan had. They were both right around 60,000 when they launched, and they both closed around 7%. So we had about 4,700 backers, and of those 47, that brought us up to about $190,000. So if you can do that, then especially by yourself, meaning you have your own platform, much like Ethan, you have your own platform. All you have to do is hire out a colorist, maybe someone to do like a satellite book if you wanted, but it's still not really necessary. But at 190,000, even if that was all it was, like, if you do 2 of these a year, you're probably doing, I mean, it's hard to say because no one really knows what we're going to clear because, the shipping expenses, like we talked before, the numbers are just going to be, there's a big question mark about what we clear at the end. And, but let's say, 190,000, I think it might be safe to say that you clear somewhere in 30, 40,000 range. And, I don't think that's ridiculous to think. So yeah, if you're able to do 2 campaigns a year, and maintain your audience, then yeah, you're pulling in 80 grand a year. That's good retirement, definitely. I mean, for most people, that's great income. So
right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, you don't have to be in necessarily any kind of network. I mean, you will be in a network because you will have friends, and
Well, that's what I think you
Yeah.
just described the network, though. I mean, and what I meant by network, by the your tribe, your crowd,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and however you develop that crowd, however you build your audience, and then I think in the long run, to your point exactly, uh, it's when anybody comes over to do it, and everyone is willing to like what you said about the tide, and raising all the boats. So that's really where what excites me about this is that everyone is willing to help each other and
Yeah.
accomplish that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited primarily because because you guys helped me get excited about creating again. And that was something I had kind of already kind of said, oh, I'll just because I like to world build. It became, I can't believe I'm saying this, but it became a hobby for me. It's like, oh man, I was gun ho about this just 5 years ago. But then I was like, I'll just, where else am I going to be able to do this? So I'm excited. All you guys are doing great projects, and I think it's great. I'm inspired by it, and definitely a very interesting time we're living in. That with the technology that we have available, this changes a lot of what everyone was only shooting for, which was just to work for. That was my problem. I couldn't work for the big two at all.
Mm-hmm.
DC was not bad though. DC was fun when I did it, and every once in a while I still get a little what do you call that? Not residual. Wait.
Nostalgia.
No. I got a check in
Loyalty.
royalties.
Oh, royalties.
Yeah,
Oh,
Mm.
that was neat, but it's nothing. Wasn't very
Yeah,
much.
it's not that much.
Contribution wasn't strong enough for it to be anything that important, but it was, I was so surprised at that, and so yeah, I mean, and then that was the other thing is I had to really grow out of it fast because I was only approaching it like, oh man, if this was always what I never thought I'd be doing this, and then it was like, oh, maybe I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, and me getting into comics, like, excuse me, breaking into Marvel. I mean, it was almost like OCD, I guess.
Mm.
I mean, I was working a day job, and but when I would get laid off for the winters, I mean, I would just hammer and hammer and hammer the work, which was graveyard shift, and every time I got going on graveyard shift, I would get a job offer. So young blood, and then Marvel. But I mean, my first email to Tom Brevoort was in like 2006 that I know of. And I think even in that one, I mentioned like, hey, Tom, I haven't written you in like 2 years. So my first email to Tom Brevoort could have been 2004. And Tom Brevoort specifically never hired me until about 2016. So, I mean, that's kind of the kind of commitment you have to have, and who's willing these days to put in 17 years to get your first well,
Yeah.
not my first job. I mean, I got into Marvel one other time. It was a very short fill-in stint around 2009 or 10, and I did a half issue of Cable Deadpool and 2 issues of New Warriors, and then they had me try out for Anita Blake, and that was it.
Mm.
Like I lost to Ron Lim because Brett Booth, I think, was doing it, and
yeah.
they wanted someone that could do a Brett Booth type style, and Ron Lim, I guess, was doing the better Brett Booth. So
Wow.
And one of the nice things that we don't talk about because it's a rare thing, and it would definitely be digging in your backyard and finding a box of gold, is when other markets, if our products do well, and other markets take notice and they want our stuff, you have to remember this is yours. You
Yeah.
don't you're not looking at Marvel like Jim Starlin, watching his creations on big screens making billions of dollars while you get literally nothing.
yeah,
Yeah, that's always a shame. Yeah, because there's always that. There's the other side of all this stuff where there's the ethical aspects of your rights to your work and the creatorship, and maybe ethical is not the right term, but it can certainly be unethical the way some of these guys may be treated. But
Yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, it's quote unquote business, but
right,
it does feel unethical when you're making billions of dollars upon the backs of these creators, and these creators aren't really getting anything. I mean, they have to fight just to have their name on the product saying it was created by them. Uh, that to me kills me. Over overall, especially because that was one of the big problems when Image was formed. These guys couldn't even, when their drawings were used for advertisements and other books, their names wasn't even put on it. They not only did they not get a residual check for that, a royalty, but they didn't even get a name put on it saying, yeah, I'm the one that did that. So kind of rubs me the wrong way.
Well, if you want the real heartbreak of the comic book industry, I mean, it's really simple and it's really sad because people, again, you may put 17 years in just to get into Marvel, and but even when you get in, your job is not secure. It's not like you got hired and here's your 401k. You're with us until the end.
hmm
You work for them as a freelancer. So when I was in to do Thunderbolts, which I think went about 12 issues, um, when that ended, my job ended. That's
Yeah.
it.
yeah,
I put in 17 years for 12 issues. And then I went like 3 months, 3 or 4 months of right back to square one, hitting up editors saying, hey guys, got anything? Hey guys, got anything? And I was hitting up my editors during the time of Thunderbolts to see if I could feel, hey guys, make me feel comfortable. Is there something beyond here? Is there somewhere else to go?
Hmm.
And they throw you in the dark, and then you're like, oh shit, am I going to get in a position really fast where now I can't pay my bills after 17 years of this? An editor is not answering an email, or they're not doing due diligence to make you feel comfortable. So now
Hmm.
you're getting paranoid. You're like, is there a job after this? And then out of the blue, it's almost, but trust me, I mean, there's a lot of hammering going on in between. Then you finally get another thing, but
Hmm.
no one's reaching out to you. It's you. Hey guys, sorry to be a pest, but my mortgage is coming up type, I mean, without
right,
saying
right.
your mortgage is coming up, but that's what you're thinking when you're
Yeah.
writing them. It's like, I got fucking bills. I put 17 years into trying to get through this door, and now it's like, oh, okay, well, you can do 5 issues of this, or you can do X of this. And it's like, what about an exclusive, guys? Oh, well, we don't, we save those for special cases. And it's like, holy fucking stress. So I mean, that's the real heartbreak of the industry.
Yeah,
If you're
yeah,
not offered some kind of form of job security, then being an exclusive contract, then your whole life is misery drawing these. So you're not going to
Mhm.
have any creative input on the book, especially if you're an artist. And when your book is drying up, and if your editor isn't being honest with you, saying like, this is what an honest answer should be. It should be, look, man, we don't have anything coming up, and we may not have anything for 8 months. So maybe hit up DC or do some indie stuff in the time being, but we may have something coming up for you in 9 months.
right, right.
And it's like, okay. So in other words, just run. So, uh, look, I mean, there's no comfort there.
Yeah,
If you don't have the editor's ear, if you're not out there drinking in the bar and he likes that you like the same sport team that he or she is into, if there's no real connection there, then you're a cog in the machine, and that's all you're gonna be. And when you break, they replace you. It doesn't matter to them because they're secure and comfortable, and you're out here trying to make sure that you're going to have something in 3 months. You might only have a 3-month job. Oh, well, yeah, we only need 3 issues of this. Okay, guys, yeah, I'll leave my regular life behind, so I can come in here and do 3 issues for you guys, and then I'm gonna realize that you didn't want me beyond that, but I had already left my regular life behind, because that's the only way comic books get made is, outside if you're an indie guy, which they've hired more and more of, meaning very simplified styles to where they can do a page or 2 pages in a day. I mean, only the indie people who built those styles, because they had to keep working a day job, are going to have any kind of comfort. So they can still work at Marvel and work a day job and get the work done, and they're bringing back in, double the paychecks.
I'm going to read a couple of chats here. Let's see. Aldous on the farm, just off Orwell Lane. He says, no job comes with a guarantee. And then he expresses in the comment here, since when is your employer responsible for your comfort? I don't think it's that. I don't think that John is saying that anyone's responsible for our comfort. I think what we're saying is that's the reality of how you feel when you drop stuff for that client. And that's how it feels. Whether that's the reality or not, you're right in saying that nobody's guaranteed that for us. But
it's not even your employer, though. I mean,
right.
You're just a freelancer. I mean, go do day labor jobs. You go out there, you bust your butt, and when you show that you bust your butt and that you're into the work and you show up on time and you do your due diligence, then guess what? You're getting picked up again. That person is having a conversation with you saying, X, Y, or Z. Look, man, you do good work for me. I'm going to keep you busy. Just keep showing up here every day, and work is going to keep coming through. There's different types of bosses. I mean,
that's
this
true.
is a realistic situation here. And then there's other people that you can work your butt off for, and you can just tell they're not talking to you. They don't really care. You're only there to shovel the deal. No matter if you're the good worker, the bad worker, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a whole spectrum of type of personalities that you're dealing with. And if you're a good employer, then you find the ones that are passionate, that are working hard, and you make them feel comfortable. Definitely. Look, business dries up. That's it. But look, you say, look, you're putting in the work. You're showing up. You're here 15 minutes early. You're the last one to leave the job site. That person definitely needs to get a good pat on the back every now and then. And if you don't agree with that, then I'm sorry. I mean, I've done every kind of shit job there is. So, from a leadership point of view, 100%. Yeah, you got to get in there. You have to communicate with people. Yeah, there's definitely no your employer owes you anything. Hell no, no one owes you anything. But if you're a good leader, then you need to talk to your men.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you find that not just in the art industry. Like I work in the aerospace industry, so you still have that type of, you're a cog in the machine. Even if you're the best worker there, you're outputting the best work at a high quality, on time. You're just a cog. So it doesn't incentivize good work, because the crappy guy that is always late, never puts out quality work, is getting paid and has the same amount of stability as you do. And these companies don't give the good workers anything else other than what they're giving the shitty guy. Now, what this guy was saying, that there's no guarantee for a job. Well, listen, my aerospace job, while it's not 100% guaranteed, every day I go back to work, it's 95 to 99% secure. I don't, unless I do something stupid, or maybe if the government, I mean, makes an entire turn to where now my job is in jeopardy. Those are the only things that really, or maybe a meteor hits my site. Yes, that's in that small percentage. Working at Marvel is one of the reasons I turned down I turned down a contract to ink. I think it was Young Avengers, several years back. Was the fact that they were talking about how fast they needed the pages, which I really couldn't push out while I was doing a day job. So and they weren't paying enough to me to transfer my career from aerospace into comics at that pay rate, and that there was no guarantee after that book that they wanted me to do that I would get anything else, even if I put out superbly quality work. So it just didn't match up to my economic status. My kids, they like to eat. you know and plus I had already built a lifestyle based on my aerospace career, so I just kind of left that alone. And
Yeah.
granted, they came back to me one other time for another book. I don't remember what it was. I don't even know if that book actually went out, but I was like, no, sorry, I can't do it. It would be a dream of mine to have my name in a Marvel book or a DC book, but it's not worth the sacrifice of my family and their livelihoods and what I'm able to do for them on the other side. Like maybe when
Yeah.
I'm retired,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of how I was feeling about the same way. Let me see here. Let me just read something else here. I caught this one, Critias. I saw what you wrote. Now that you've reviewed my portfolio, you are. Is this? I have to decline writing for you. Listen, can come back to me when you gain some more experience. Okay.
Ooh, nice. Well, at least he's been helpful. He's trying to point you in the right direction.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Yeah. Well, what are you gonna do? I think that's a big deal. I think you nailed it there with that comment about the lifestyle versus the choices you're making, and when I was working on the stuff for DC, I remember some of the last pages I did. I was literally on my way to a convention for Harley Davidson stuff, and I was drawing on the airplane on a laptop. It was getting all bumpy, and I literally I didn't sleep for like about 27 hours, and there was a long flight from Tampa to Vegas, and I'm just cranking, and I could barely see the screen anymore. I just had enough time to get to the hotel room, drop my stuff, and keep drawing just to meet the deadline, and it looked like garbage. So that was the other thing, is like I didn't get a chance to really give them my best work. And what are you going to do, though? What are you going to do? Let's see. There's nothing anti-capitalist. This is from is it CNY Ranger. There's nothing anti-capitalist about expecting a positive employee culture from an employer. Employees are also consumers. That's true. That's true.
Mhm.
That's true. Yeah, man. That's the part about all this and I think part of the problem is that while it took us many of us too long to create our own stuff, because we were depending on a Marvel or a DC. Think about how saturated this market is for those such few companies that can actually pay well. And even as I understand it, Marvel's not paying as well as it used to. So you really are gambling. Like for every, I don't know, for every 100, I'm just ballparking here. For every 100 artists out there, there's maybe one job to get. How many? I mean, Batman has how many titles? But that's just one character with that many titles. How do you fill in the gaps? So now everyone's trying to cycle through all these different creators or artists or whatever, and then on top of that, you have these varying price points that people can afford. If you live in a different country, they're already making your job harder because they can do that work for a lot less.
Yep.
So
A lot less.
yeah.
Yep. Well, that's the good thing about where we're at now is, especially for the people that are still attempting to be full-time artists, is now there are options on the table where you don't have to be reliant to a corporation, and hopefully everything builds up. So, because it works for everybody, even indie people who don't feel that they're getting, as I understand it, some people in the indie comics are seeing Comicsgate as like a negative because somehow we're not allowed to be independent creators because we worked for Marvel. which is ridiculous. So, I mean, because everyone who ever works for Marvel always ends up doing work at Image or IDW, and those are all independent companies. So, but yeah, so people were thinking that, or saying that we were taking some steam away from independent creators. But look, we're bringing a lot of tension here too. So, again, it's the rising tide. And so, someone like, say, Nasser, who hasn't, to my knowledge, ever done a comic book before Stardust, but he raises, I think it was around 10 or 15,000 on his first IndieGoGo.
I thought it was 18. Let's see. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
well, whatever it is, he's done very well. 4 years ago, Rob Liefeld did one, a Kickstarter, and he's a bona fide legend in the industry. And I think that ended up doing like 30,000.
Brian
So
Pulido.
What's that?
Pulido, Lady Death dude.
Yeah, what about him?
No, he's doing his Kickstarters and making hundreds of grand too.
Yeah. But my point is that Rob was a bona fide legend. So if a bona fide legend is only doing 30,000, and now someone like Nasser, who has no name to him, is doing 15,000, then yes, the attention we're bringing is definitely helping other people out.
Yeah.
So Polito's been building up his he's been building up his audience since the 1990s.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the amount of advantage that he has with that, not to mention having, I think, a full-length animated film on his character. And so he's brought along an audience.
Mm-hmm.
And he's doing okay. I mean, I don't know how okay he's doing, because he seems to have a large staff that he's paying for.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it must be cost effective for him to continue doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't understand the crying. Listen, if we're in a market, you're my competition.
Yeah.
If if you're crying that my product is making more money than yours, then you should be in the competition and figure out, okay, how is that guy making more money than mine? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
what do I need to do to change up my business tactics or my product to match this guy? It's basic capitalism. Calm down.
Right. Listen, that's it. If the thing's successful, because then this is the problem, is that a lot of people who are sometimes support the idea of a merit-based system. Everyone says, I deserve a spot, I deserve this, but really, you can't say that and also want there to be an independent market. If you're an indie, it's not big. I don't know. I don't understand how those things jive. If you're an independent, go ahead.
Anybody can follow the Comicscape model. Anyone can do it. So everyone is at the end responsible for themselves. No one can stop you from making a YouTube channel. No one can stop you from building up an audience of 50, 60,000. And no one can stop you from doing a fundraiser on IndieGoGo or Kickstarter or whatever platform you choose. That's your business. That's it. That's your business.
That's it.
Yeah. All right, guys. I'm gonna have to bow out here. Mike is calling.
So. You got it. I'm gonna boogie too. Get some rest. Take the kids to school in the morning. But guys, I really appreciate you coming to hang out with me. You got 27 watching. I appreciate you guys watching and commenting. I'm sorry I didn't read everybody's comment. I try to look up whenever I wasn't. I'm really bad about that, guys. But I do appreciate that you guys came along to join me tonight, and hopefully, I'll have some cool stuff down the road for you guys to enjoy and consume, like my man John Malin and his product. Ben, I appreciate you, and your work is stunning, man. Really good stuff, you guys. I'm just impressed. I feel super blessed to be in the presence of you guys, man. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate it.
Well, don't be too impressed.
No, don't. We're just guys.
Yeah, but thanks for having us on, Elliot. So
right on, man.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys.
Peace out, guys. Bye.
Bye.